I'm good. Did you miss me?
I did a lot. A lot.
I really don't want to get your channel deleted, Reed. That you're asking for serious trouble if I answer that question.
Well, then stop fucking talking about us, man.
How much perceived value do you think we will lose?
Well, I mean, we lose a lot.
The establishment Republicans are not Republican in name only. That's what the GOP is.
So many people want everyone else to come to libertarianism the same way they did.
Right.
The slave mentality is praised.
All right. Thanks,
I want
Mike.
your phone to blow up with notifications every time the show is on. Thank you, Reed.
Hey guys, thanks for watching The Naturalist Capitalist. We only got an hour with James Corbett today, so I'm going to skip all the introductions, but we've got the usual lineup: Eric, Ryan, and James. How are you doing tonight, James?
This morning, it is a little bit chilly in Japan, as Ryan can attest to. Maybe I should put on my beanie, as Americans would say, toque, as us Canadians would say.
What's it called? Toque?
Toque.
Toque.
Extra points if you can spell that.
So, James, you're from Canada. Which part of Canada?
My Calgary Flames hat and Calgary Flames mouse pad should give a hint towards my Calgary upbringing.
So Vancouver? No.
So, do you talk much with friends and family back there and the hellhole that place has become, or?
Yeah. Well, I've been out here 17 years now, so I'm down to the last remaining straggling friends and family out there that I keep in touch with. But yeah, I do keep in touch, and it is a hellhole. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Canada.
At least it's not Australia.
Wow.
So
that could be a shirt. At least it's not Australia.
Yeah. It's getting there.
They're number 2 though. Like Canada's like right on their heels.
Yeah.
Sad to say.
Yeah. So Ryan has kind of told us that Japan, I mean, they haven't been perfect, but they've been pretty good. They haven't had like extreme lockdowns and stuff. Is that kind of your opinion as well? What do you think about how Japan has handled everything?
Well, there are no lockdowns here. There isn't a huge mask mandate thing here, but that's because there doesn't need to be. As Ryan can attest, 99.9% of the people, 99.9% of the time are wearing masks. So Japanese people do what they're told, and they've rolled up their sleeves for the vaccine, so they don't need mandates on that. You know, if you don't need to force it, why bother?
Right.
However, I never wear a mask anywhere. Nobody cares.
Yep.
And they wouldn't tell you even if they did.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I do notice the youth at night aren't masking up.
Yeah.
They kind of do whatever other people are doing. So if you get a few people not wearing masks, the other people take their mask off. It's weird. If you put them on, then they got one to put on.
Well, we have no nightlife out here in the sticks where I am, and I wouldn't be out there even if there was. So, but from what I've seen, I think you're right. Yeah.
So
why had to recruit some calendar girls. So for a while there, I was going out. I usually am here in my house too, and I used to live in the sticks, and Nara. I love the country. I like farming and all that, but I had to move to the city.
So
right during as soon as COVID hit. So it's like, okay, I have to pay more, and then everything's closed anyway.
Yeah,
early.
Exactly.
So James, what drew you to Japan in the first place?
Just total blind happenstance. It wasn't a plan on my part for any particular reason. I hadn't studied about Japan. I didn't know any Japanese. I didn't know any Japanese people. I was just looking for a way to kill a year. I thought, I'll go teach English for a year in Asia. My first thing that came up was Nova, as I'm sure Ryan might know.
There's quite the scandal there.
Yeah, that was fun. I lived through that as the bankruptcy was happening. I managed to get out just in time.
I was reporting on why the bankruptcy was happening as it was happening, because this is a company that they were an English teaching outfit, and they would get government money because if you have anything to do with education, you get money, but they were subsidizing their failing hotel and other businesses with the money that was supposed to be for education. And then they threw the education wing under the bus to save their other businesses, and all these teachers just didn't get paid for months.
And their whole model was just to keep expanding and expanding and expanding, and more branches, more and more branches until it just exploded. The Saruhashi, the guy that was running the company, had some interesting connections. And here's a bizarre story that I don't know if I've even ever told, but So when you got to the AAM level at Nova as the area manager, so like in charge of a bunch of branches in your region, there was this ceremony where they give you the little purple pin that's supposedly like the Nova chrysanthemum or something, right? But they're like super secretive about this, and you're definitely not allowed to ever let anyone handle your pin. You got to keep it at all times. If someone lost it once and they were freaking out over it, and I was asking around about this, like, what is with this pin thing? And like, they wouldn't talk about it. I ended up looking it up. Oh, it's the forget-me-not, which was the symbol of Freemasonry in Nazi Germany back when they were being prosecuted. So they had to have a special way of showing their Masonic symbol. It was a forget-me-not. It is literally the Nova pin.
The purple flowers in general are the Chinrikyo cult or religion, however, as well. Reed, we need pens for the Horsemen. Yeah, we need secret handshakes and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, James, I've been a huge fan of your work for a while, man. So it's really great to connect with you on here, and obviously we appreciate you coming on. So I know, like you said, you're from Canada originally. So for people who've never heard of you before, what is it that really got you awake and aware of what's really going on in the world and got you on the path that you're on right now towards your career in reporting and research and journalism?
Well, I guess from a certain perspective, I've always been distrustful of authority and pronouncements from people in power. I've never bought Lone Nut Oswald and that kind of stuff. But it was really 9/11 that got me interested in this in a really deep way. And it wasn't just, it was the process of starting to research some of that information that I was seeing online for myself was really what got the ball rolling on it. Because it's one thing to just watch what people are saying or hearing someone make a pronouncement, but it's another thing when you start actually trying to dig up the documents and looking at it for yourself. And after that process, I thought, oh, okay, there's more going on here, but it can't be that. What's really happening? And then when I start getting into, the central banking fraud and all of that, then, oh, okay, there's a much bigger thing going on here. So it was really like a 6-month process of me going down the rabbit hole and deciding, okay, I got to start a podcast. So that's how the Corbett Report started, and I've been doing it for 15 years now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Similar. I think Bill Still and myself were kind of the trailblazers on the banking and 9/11 stuff.
Yeah, I remember the Money Masters watching that in late 2006. That was one a penny drop moment for me.
We used to have double VHS tapes sent out to people. And then 9/11, it was really uphill because of all the what I call the kook movement pretty much took it over. And everything I'd said just sort of got lost in the ether after like Loose Change and Judy Woods and all the weirdos came out. But
yeah, so James, do you think with more information out there, it's harder to educate people because it's so easy to get distracted by falsehoods, or do you think it's easier now because you can just reach more people?
There is a dilution that's gone on. Yeah, in a certain sense, it was a very different space when I first started the website 15 years ago. And in a way, it was much easier to actually to bring information to people 15 years ago. I was just thinking about this the other day because at this point, to a certain extent, it's part of my personal story is that now people know James Corbett of the Corbett Report, and he said this, and he talks about this, and he has these positions, and it's more about James Corbett of the Corbett Report than it is about this specific information that I'm pointing to. And I always knew, that's the big trade-off of when you put your name and face to something is that now you're a personality and people are going to treat you like a media figure and all of that baggage nonsense. So it was a lot easier 15 years ago when I didn't have all of that behind me, and it was just, oh, here's some information. But also, the mainstreaming of conspiracy culture and, of course, the dilution that goes on with that has made it more difficult to get actual valuable information out to people because there's just so many sources that are pretending to be the alternative media at this point.
Right.
Yeah, James and I used to work for the same lady. I won't bring that up, but, I got out first.
Worked with. I wouldn't say work for, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's better. I worked with. I never listened to her, so. but that was, whistleblowers and things were getting gagged, and that was happening in the beginning. But nowadays, the censorship, they don't even try to hide it. And a lot of it's because of the Branch Covidians, whatever, but are getting banned. But I've been getting banned since 2005 from stuff, and James just lost over 500,000 subscription YouTube, like over 500,000. I don't know the exact number. Do you? Something like that.
I took a screenshot just a week or two before it happened. I think it was 569,000.
569,000.
What you will.
So what did you say that was not
did they even
allowed
give
to
you a
be heard?
reason? They never gave me.
Well, it was the 3 strike thing. So I can't remember what all of the 3 strikes were. It's just, every time it was COVID misinformation, and it would just be, they wouldn't tell you what. But the third one was funny to me because it was my podcast on Science Says, which was literally me talking about the philosophy of science and talking about Thomas Kuhn and people like that, and literally reading scientific philosophy books and things like that. And that's what was the third strike that got my channel banned.
Wow.
I actually did a talk about Thomas Kuhn in Japan a long time ago. But that when you're talking about science, that means you're talking about Fauci because, he is the science, according to himself.
Well, I had a clip of Fauci in there, of course. So
did you add the Jim Leahy, I am the liquor? No.
So James, with what you said that got you banned, the narrative keeps shifting. Like stuff that we weren't allowed to say 4 months ago is now being reported by CNN. So do you think if you said, I know you don't know exactly what got you banned, but if you said those things now, is there a chance that they would just ignore it, do you think?
Oh, no. No. They're just looking for excuse to censor anything that's not coming from the mainstream perspective. One of the, I can't remember if it was a strike or a warning, but one of the videos that got removed back before they banned the channel was it was a New World Next Week episode where we were covering Reiner Fulmick and the Corona Investigative Committee. And we didn't, it's not like I was saying, this is the truth, man, and this is great. I was even being somewhat skeptical. Like, I'll believe this lawsuit when I see it, when it's actually filed in a real jurisdiction against real people. That's all it was just covering the existence of it. But that got scrubbed, as a lot of videos covering that did. So, again, it doesn't matter what you say or what perspective you have on it. It's just they are moving towards the authoritative sources, and they're going to start scrubbing anyone who isn't playing ball.
They just wanted to get rid of him because it's somebody they don't control, got a pretty sizable audience, and they just wanted to get rid of him anyway.
Yep.
I got a strike. I didn't get strikes when my channel was deleted the most recent time. Actually, it's not even the most recent because they got rid of 2 of my backup channels on the same day, but they just erased it. You're in violation of community standards. Same thing they did to Ron Paul, just you're gone. But prior to that, I had one removed, and one of the strikes, the title was Palestinians Are People Too. Apparently that was racist or sexist or something.
How dare you?
How dare me call them people? But yeah, that's what they did. It's robots that are policing the thing. And everyone that says AI, I'm like, we don't have AI. Artificial intelligence, it's just bots. They're not thinking or anything. We're so far from ever having AI.
It's not like I feel like I was personally targeted, like on a special list. Although I guess I was on a few lists. I did see some of them, but no. It was algorithmic, and some of it was just stupid and nonsensical. I remember at one point they took down one video and then gave me a strike and said you can't post for another week or whatever. And then a few days later, I checked, and suddenly I could post again, and the video was back. They didn't even send me an email telling it. Like this, it's all broken bot nonsense. They don't even know what's going on. It's just, obviously anything from any independent perspective is going to get banned. That is 0% surprising to me. I've been talking for years and years and years and years about we need to start alternative platforms because we are going to be deplatformed from this. And Ray Vahi of BitChute cited the Corbett report as one of the inspirations for starting BitChute in the first place. Good. This is why we need this, guys. And I know even people in my own audience, they're like, yeah, James talks about it, but they're not really going to they deleted him. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. So you, from the beginning, were never reliant on YouTube. You never took any money from them or anything, right? You just
not one penny.
You knew this was going to happen. So why bother? Yeah.
No, I never, it was a principle thing. Like I don't want their blood money. I don't want anything to do with them, but it ended up turning out actually very well for me because it meant I set up my whole infrastructure through, hey, subscribe to me through my site. And therefore, I still was able to continue doing this even after they scrubbed my channel.
I doubt they would have paid you anyway. Right? I mean, a lot of people who auto qualified to be monetized or to have super chats, whatever, they wouldn't really do it. And if you had started taking money, then they would have just deleted you quicker. Like, oh,
Yeah,
because that alerts.
that's the thing. I think that's probably true.
Yeah. I never was allowed, like, ever. Yeah, it's whatever, man. I've also been one of these people like, we've got to have this. We got to have this. And there's Gab and BitChute and Odyssey. Rumble's sort of 50-50. It's sort of the better than YouTube, but they still censor, But Getter, same thing, better than Twitter, but still censors.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Getter, James, because I know they have like some connections to China, and I've heard you talk a lot about China. What do you think about Getter? Do you think it's just I actually did a bunch of free speech tests on there to see how free their speech actually was, and I've had over 20 posts removed, and they don't even tell you what they remove or why. They just take them off and disappear them. But I figured you probably have an opinion on Getter.
I certainly haven't signed up for it. Didn't even think about it. I don't care about social media as social media. I only care about places where I can post my work and content, and generally video format. So that, I use Minds, BitChute, Odyssey, archive.org. But so I've never even thought about signing up for Getter. But from everything I've been reading on the sidelines, it's like it checks every box. Yeah, the mysterious Chinese billionaire backing and free speech, of course not. And I can't remember. Oh yeah, there's Facebook and Google trackers all over their app and everything. Surprise, surprise. Does anyone expect anything different from these types of Parler, whatever, Getter? I mean, they're all going to be controlled.
I don't even know. They lost their Amazon servers. Did they return?
Parler, you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never went on there.
Like, they lost, but Google, Apple, and Amazon ganged up on them. It's not because they were some bastion of free speech. It was just like, no, this is the right-wing version of Twitter. And they said
exactly. These are, I mean, to me, these are just the controlled left-right versions of, here's your flavors of ice cream, but I don't want ice cream. Yeah. You're eating ice cream.
So, James, a lot of people have been obviously talking about the Maxwell trial. So I'd be interested in your takeaways from that and your thoughts on how that went.
I have nothing insightful to say about that because I must admit I wasn't covering it carefully. I think Ryan probably has much more insight.
Oh yeah, I got a lot on Epstein and Maxwell. I've been talking about Epstein now almost 15 years, but it sounded like a conspiracy, right? There's a guy, he's got an island, but it's all true. But I think
those terms aren't mutually exclusive. It was a conspiracy and it was true.
Right. It's a true.
We've been psyoped into thinking conspiracy.
Yeah.
False. That is not.
Right, what I mean is it sounded like one of the loose changer.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, oh, really? There's a billionaire with his own private island and a ranch in New Mexico. And, and he's friends with Wexner and the mega group too, right? Like, yes. That's all real. There's Jack Posobiec and some of these people are putting out all this disinformation, and all the names are sealed and blah blah blah, and no, they're not. It's quite the opposite. She said, I'm not defending any of these Johns because she's already in prison and they're going to have to get their own attorneys and defend themselves, and Prince Andrew's going down in flames right now, and she still has another perjury case to face, where she said she had no contact with Epstein. They have emails showing she did. And then there's the Deutsche Bank portion of the white collar crime with Epstein that's still going to court. And Jean-Luc Brunel's still going to have a trial. Peter Nygaard has a hearing on the 19th and in a couple of days, actually. And he's actually connected to Epstein through Andrew and some others too, doing the same kind of thing, drugging. He wasn't doing the massage groom thing. He was just Bill Cosby and people. Although I think Bill Cosby might not be guilty, but you know what I mean? Drug, anal rape, all that fun stuff. But there's a lot of court cases going on, and they're blackpilling everybody, going, "Oh, look, Maxwell had her trial, and we didn't get everybody on this map or something." I'm like, that's not going to happen anyway. But you get a few of them. Just learn to take a W. Like, she's in prison, and she raped all these girls, and she's in jail for life. That's a good thing. Yes, we didn't get, Leon Black and Les Wexner, and you're not gonna, because they're billionaires. But some of them are going down, and in the court of public opinion, they lost bad. So it's.
Eric, what is Prince Andrew saying right now?
Oh well, I actually, before I said I don't sweat, but now I'm sweating quite profusely. I don't sweat. I have a condition. Where did he fight Ryan? The
The
Falklands.
Falkland Wars. He had an adrenal spike or something.
It was I had a rush of adrenaline between adrenochrome sips, and I can't sweat. I don't sweat. But
If you can't sweat, it couldn't be him.
there's no way.
Innocent.
I was at a pizza shop with John Podesta. I don't sweat. I swear, I don't sweat. Yeah, that's outrageous.
Nobody there
part to
remembers
me
them.
is if someone like Prince Andrew goes down in flames, isn't he going to take someone with him? I mean, surely he can spill some beans.
He has to. Oh
Oh,
yeah. I
hopefully.
mean, they're over there sashaying around the throne with Kevin Spacey and Ghislaine Maxwell. You know those pictures. It's like what?
They both do Glenn and Ava Dubin. I think that's the next one on the list after Andrew.
Yeah, the Dubins.
Yeah.
Maria Farmer's been tweeting about the Dubins, which is super based. No one even knows who they are.
Right.
Well, I mean,
well, we do.
Like,
Yeah. Well, people can figure out who they are.
yeah, I think it's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest contrasts between public interest in a thing and the media's lack of interest in a thing, right? Same with like the Hunter laptop. You're not allowed to talk about that on social media either. You talk about Hunter Biden, you're gone. Even in the debates, they're like, "Oh no, that's Russian disinfo," which is their just go-to thing, right? Like, "Oh yeah, Russian hackers, whatever."
That's the meme, the misdirection.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's up there yelling about the mayor of Moscow.
Biggest hoaxes, like the Russiagate had to be one of them. Then there's maybe Rittenhouse, Smollett, whatever. I was wondering what James would think of the conspiracies that the media supported. Like, what would be the top 5 for last year?
Last year is a good question. I actually just was writing about this. I just posted it a few minutes ago. My article for this weekend was about the latest one, which is the Ukraine false flag. Russia is false flagging Ukraine because they are, according to Jen Psaki, we have information is literally all that she cites as a source on this one. We have information that Russia has planted forces, undercover forces, trained in urban warfare in eastern Ukraine, who are going to attack Russian proxy forces in eastern Ukraine and then blame it on Ukraine in order to invade. So I was pointing out, obviously, wow, it's like the biggest false flag conspiracy theorists at the moment
It's like
are
a
in the
false
White
flag
House.
about a false flag.
Come on, James. You don't trust Chucky there, okay? Brandon's press secretary, Chucky, the bride of Chucky.
How about Victoria Nuland, who came out after the Ukraine cyber
Kagan's
attack
wife.
that just took place and said,
That was-
well, you know, evidence schmevidence. We know it's part of their playbook to use cyber attacks against their enemies because apparently that's uniquely Russian. Therefore,
That was my
case
joke.
closed. It was Russia.
I was
Trump
about to
mentioned
say, was her information from Victoria Nuland or the Kagans? You know,
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
The Hudson
Mr.
Institute.
Kagan.
Yeah, Trump mentioned it in his rally last night. They're always just going on about Russia, Russia, Russia. Everything's Russia, you know? So he hasn't
James,
forgotten.
You should get Joaquin Flores on to talk about Ukraine. He's been good on it recently. Or Ray McGovern's been good too. On that. The whole time. That guy's such a stud.
He knows his stuff. Yeah, he's still going, still sharp. So yeah, James, some of the early stuff I remember of your videos is obviously you did the incredible you did 9/11 billions, right? That was your
Trillions.
I'm sorry.
Come on,
Trillions, not
inflation.
billions.
Get it straight.
Trillions. With Brandon's inflation, it's at trillions at this point. So you did that one. You did a really great documentary about Oklahoma City, or a series on that. And then you did obviously with other aspects of 9/11, you talked a lot about the Israeli urban movers stuff. So I mean, looking back on all that, I mean, it's all solid. I mean, obviously, when you were making it, you knew it was solid. But are you working on anything right now, like documentary wise or long form videos that are kind of similar to those formats?
Yes. Actually, my first priority is to finish my new Al Qaeda documentary series that I'm doing right now. I've got the first 2 parts up. What is the title? I always forget the title now. False Flags, The Secret History of Al Qaeda, I believe is the title. It's at corbettreport.com/Al Qaeda. So I've got the first 2 parts up, leading us from the inception of Al Qaeda, actually going back before then, up until we're at 9/11 now. And then the next will be the next installment will be the War of Terror years. So I'm going to get that finished. It'll be the longest documentary I've ever done when it put it all together. It's already 3.5 hours. And then after that, I'm going to be working on, I did a course for Renegade University last year on the history of mass media. And I'm going to be developing that into some sort of documentary type thing that I'll release this year, because I know it sounds boring. Oh yeah, the history of media, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it is probably the most important thing that we're facing in our lifetime. I mean, hey, look, we're sitting here talking. That in and of itself is something that would have.
I don't think that sounds boring at all.
20 years ago.
No, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. Now I'm hearing about this. It's really exciting. So do you kind of dig into like the Bernays type stuff, the psychological warfare aspect of media and propaganda and that sort of thing?
I think more McLuhan-esque kind of the philosophical aspects of media and how media uses us. It is not a neutral tool that we can use any way we want. It forms and shapes us, who we are. And that's even scarier when we start thinking about the metaverse and what that means. And it is coming. It is coming. Augmented reality and all that crap is coming. So
right,
I think we got to know.
Eric, you know where state-run media started in the U.S., right?
State-run media?
Yeah, when the state took over the newspapers, that was stinking Lincoln. Abe Lincoln shut down over 300 papers, and it never recovered. They just had control of the press from there.
Morphed into Mockingbird with the CIA.
Well, I guess it got a little bit worse over time, but
yeah. Well, yeah. That there's no lack of information there or content, James. So I'm really excited to see that. That's it's going to be good. I'm happy to hear that.
I read so much for that course. And that was at the exact same time as I was starting my Al Qaeda documentary. So I had like 15 books on the go at any given moment. And then after I finished it, am I allowed to say this? It was a great course. There was a ton of info in there, and then it was like 90 people actually saw it. I'm like, I think more people deserve to see this.
Yeah.
So is the Al Qaeda documentary, is John McCain on the cover?
The Northern Storm Brigade.
But he might be in part 3. Who knows?
Yeah, well, his family's been involved with that. I mean, I think they had the flag at half-mast when he passed away, considering he met with so many Al-Qaeda groups in Syria. He's like, these are good people. Yeah. I know these people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my part 3 is going to be all on... essentially, it's all about, setting up the geopolitical chessboard, and, here it is. But this is how they actually used the Al-Qaeda piece. And that, of course, is the absolute nonsense of... Al-Qaeda is the enemy. That's why we have to go into Afghanistan and Iraq. But Al-Qaeda is our friend. That's why we have to help them in Syria and all of that. I mean, I'm going to get into all of that garbage.
Yeah. I started writing a book on Syria last night and was I was like, man, I'm going over my own interviews since they're all removed. They're on alt censored though. And I was like, this is really good. I forgot some of the stuff, and I'm like learning it all over again.
Yeah.
Specific stuff like, oh yeah, I forgot about that massacre on April 9th. And you can see that in the Syrian war, especially, just open aid to Al-Qaeda groups, and the media all ignoring it and starting the story in the middle, wait till the Syrian army reacts.
The CFR actually had an op-ed at one point, why we need to support Al-Qaeda now, or Al-Qaeda are the good guys now, or something like that. It was ridiculous. Absolutely off the charts.
Yeah, there was a kind of a magic line. They're bad in Iraq and good in Syria.
Yep.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Hey guys, is Ryan's camera frozen for you too, or is that just me?
Yeah, it looks like
I thought he was just doing that.
Yeah.
Man,
he's doing his best John McCain face.
He's doing his best Reed Coverdale impression, freezing up during the video.
There's something wrong with the USB port. It did that yesterday. It was glitching out. And
all right, well, we can hear you fine still.
I think the IDF's attacking him right now.
Nobody watches these for my pretty face.
So James, I watched, I think it was your video with Thaddeus Russell, and you guys were talking about the neocons and China. And it seems like people are either pro neocon or pro China. And Ryan's talked about this a lot. Like the Chinese government is just as bad as the American government. And you talked about it a little bit in that video, but what do you think about the China US aggression going on? And like, are they both bad? Who's wrong about what? Just what do you think about it?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where there's no clean hands like, oh, here's the good guys. No. Absolutely not. If people want the deep dive on it, they can go back to my work. I've done so much on this, but China and the New World Order would probably be the touchstone podcast to start from, where I go through the documentary evidence of how China came to be as this rising geopolitical and economic juggernaut. It just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. No, it was a 50-year process of being built up into what it is at this point. And then they present you with the false choice of, okay, so either you're a pro-neocon or you're pro-China. No, how about neither? How about they're on the same team, or at least they're being manipulated by the same players? So no, thank you. But yeah, ultimately, if people don't know about it, there is a fascinating history about specifically how the economic ties were forged between China and the West in that period of the capitalist rotors and after the death of Mao and Deng Xiaoping and all of that. There is such a fascinating history there that is how this giant juggernaut just appeared out of nowhere, according to a lot of people who just woke up in the past 20 years, apparently.
It's the light switch brain, we call it. Like, well, if not A, it has to be B.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that are just defaultly on Team China because they right and correctly see all the U.S. imperialism and all that, and they just think, well, here's the next biggest power, and it's not America. So
yeah,
this is my team. Oh no.
Yeah, like China is just such a wonderful land of freedom and opportunity.
China.
They have more homeless people than Canada has people.
Well, they've got ghost cities they can move them into.
Well, they can't move them in there. They want. Yeah. Do you know about the ghost cities, guys?
Yes.
In China?
Yep.
It's insane, man. They got a housing crisis, and they also have all these empty commercial and residential buildings that nobody can pay, but they can't let the price fall because of all the foreign investment. So there's just cities, and they keep adding on to them. Like, oh, this isn't a bubble at all. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So, James, what do you think about their threat to the United States as an economic power? Because their economy seems to be somewhat of a paper tiger, like their infrastructure is crap. But what do you think? Do they actually pose a significant threat?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few different ways of looking at that, because one, you could say, well, it's not like the American dollar is so sound at this point,
right? Or
has been for decades. But actually, I mean, at this point, China has more of a manufacturing productive base to work from than the gutted out U.S. industrial sector does at this point. So they might actually have more to show for it, even if it is just building ghost cities. Having said that, yeah, I don't. It's to a certain degree, the ruling monetary power of any historical period is always, if not a paper tiger, at least it is built on the wishes and goodwill of people around the world, or more accurately, the fact that they're all surrendering at gunpoint to whoever has the most guns. So if China can militarily back up their paper promises, then they can act exactly as the American empire has for the duration of Pax Americana. Having said that, yeah, it's all a charade anyway. I mean, the entire international financial structure is a house of cards that, as anyone who has studied central banking and what it is and how it functions knows, it's all a controlled, rigged game in the first place. And it really is just about power. So the question really then becomes, does the real controlling financial interests and power oligarchy, do they care about the American empire? Do they care about China? Do they just want to switch between one and the other, or keep them pitted against each other? It's really a question of what serves powerful interests more than anything else. And I think it has nothing to do with the actual economic calculus of it. Yeah. I think that's almost window dressing.
It's about power. Like, if, for example, Google bleeds money keeping YouTube afloat, but they do it because they want control of information. Yeah, they're not doing it like this old model of all the greedy capitalists for his profit motive. Like, no, they're losing money, but they're keeping control, and that's much more valuable in a value sense than
that's the thing. That's why people can't wrap their heads around, well, why would they create something like the Great Depression? If you can gain power by sacrificing some of these paper dollars, do you think they will not make that sacrifice? Of course they will.
It's almost like, what if there was some kind of like crisis that was completely exaggerated, and you could go buy property up for pennies on the dollar as all these businesses got shut down for some reason, And I don't know, let's say like Black Rock or Stone or something like that. Just went and bought all this property in New York, and suddenly crisis averted, and you've got like a handful of people own all this prime real estate. People willingly complied. You're like, well, I didn't want people accusing me of killing grandma, so I just went ahead and got my 8th booster shot, and A couple of my kids.
The thing I always find baffling is I'll talk to normies about this, and they'll just be like, why would people want to do that? Like, why would people, want to control so many people? Why would people just be evil? It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, just look throughout history. When has that ever not been the case? That's always what people are doing.
That to me is kind of my go-to line at this point. It's like, for someone who's saying that, it's like, oh, so you've never studied any history.
Right.
You do not know that people throughout history have always attempted to centralize as much power in as few hands as possible. It's still happening today. If you can't get that through your head in 2022, I'd almost say there's no hope at this point.
Yeah, they've been doing it a long time. I really do think that our public education, where it's failed the most, is in teaching history. All they teach now is like atrocity propaganda blamed on like some sort of racial category and a CRT BS. They don't have a firm grip of history. Not even, and I don't mean like from biblical times to now or something. They don't know recent history, even like from the 80s to now, or even a few years ago to now. And you can see the just astounding level of ignorance on very basic things. People, well, as James was alluding to earlier, when you're talking about your film about the media, the psychology of it, I'll come across people that are like, all these people talk about Kazakhstan all of a sudden. I'm like, you just heard that yesterday, right? You didn't know anything, not you, but like, you didn't know anything about Kazakhstan. Don't act like you did either, as I know you couldn't even find that place until recently. But they've got these like really entrenched opinions about it because they just saw it on whatever their network is. Yep. And it really warps their reality. They're like, well, that, blah, 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 and it's just a fucking verbatim what they got spoon-fed 20 minutes ago, right? And I'm like, that's not even your own words, all right? And you think you came up with this. You didn't. You're having your narrative, your reality created for you from television or your monitor or whatever, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, that actually, I wanted to bring up this article. I don't know how accurate this poll is. I know polls are, they're very heavily manipulated, but there was a poll among Democratic voters. 59% of Democratic voters would favor a government policy requiring that citizens remain confined to their homes at all times except for emergencies if they refuse to get a COVID-19 vaccine. Nearly half, 48% of Democrat voters think federal and state governments should be able to fine or imprison individuals who publicly question the efficacy of the existing COVID-19 vaccines on social media. So we could end up in prison, guys, television, radio, or in online digital publications. So like you're saying, Ryan, I mean, they just like where they get these opinions from.
They think the vaccine stops the spread of the disease. And they also think you've got like an 80% chance of dying if you get it. It's like, no, if you're in a high risk category, you got about a 2% chance, and basically zero if you're healthy and you're not overweight and you're young. So
this is why, as you say, this is why Google doesn't make profit off YouTube. They don't care. They don't want that. They want the control of information. This is precisely why, because the most effective tyranny is not vertical tyranny. It's horizontal tyranny. Once you convince enough of the public that these people who aren't doing what we're telling them to do are the enemy and you got to go after them, they don't even have to enforce anything. They let everyone else enforce it for them.
Man, I've missed talking to you, dude. We'll separate for a while and come back together now and then. I'm like, he said everything I'm thinking when I'm saying to this. It's great. It's good, man. A lot of people are like, do you know James? Just because we both live in Japan. I think we've interviewed each other 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
We've had a gap for a while. And I'm like, just because we live in the same, actually you have met James, but like, just because we live in the same country, there's like, it's him and another guy, Black Pigeon something. like, no, I don't know that person, or whatever. But
right. Well, they're looking on the map and seeing they're so small. You must be like right next to each other. Right?
That's a lot of based for one small country, though. You know, you gotta you can't disagree with that. That's a high levels of based.
A lot of English speakers.
There was a time where James, myself, Michael Kyle, and Gillett Osmond were all in the same like Irish bar. It was weird.
I've got video of it. Yeah.
Wow.
I was waiting. Oh, I'd love to have that because Mike's passed away now. I was
right. It's on my site. Just type in Atsmon. It should be on.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing there wasn't a Predator drone flying in the area from Langley. That's incredible. All you guys there under the same roof.
In Osaka. That's why he used to come here a lot. Interesting guy. Sometimes I'd vehemently disagree with him, and later I'd be like, you know what? He has a point.
So, James, before COVID BC, how often did you go to Canada? Would you fly home a couple times a year or anything? Or
it was once every other year, I think, basically. So now it's been about 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
And now, who knows when the next time will be? Because I ain't doing all the bullshit.
Yeah. It sucks. I mean, Canada. I've been to most of Canada. I've been like Yukon, British Columbia, Alberta, and then like the entire east half. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. I love traveling there. The Canadian Rockies and everything. And
have you been to Sunnyvale?
I don't know.
Boys reference, like the second greatest show out of Canada.
Oh, okay.
Letterkenny. It's my white trash go-to. I love it.
I've heard of it, but I'm so out of the loop. I don't even know.
Oh, it's you might not like it, but
it makes me feel better if James doesn't know it too. So.
I'm not the barometer to go by. All of my celebrity references are like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston are still popular, right?
But it's amazing like how quickly a society that just used to freely travel everywhere. Like I loved traveling to California and going anywhere. And in the last 2 years, this has become a different country. And I mean, it is amazing how quickly people can, completely change their mindset. I remember I had a relative who at the beginning of all this crap, he was kind of laughing at it. And I was hiking in the Grand Canyon and there was this park ranger who was like 50 feet away from me and she screamed at me to stop and not come any closer. And she got off the trail like 10 feet out of the way and put a bandana over her face and then was like, okay, like now you can come down. And I told him that story and he thought it was the most ridiculous thing. And now he won't see me in person because I don't have 4 shots. It's just amazing how quickly that can change.
Yeah. Do you remember back in March of 2020, I think it was, MIT had an article up on the new normal. It was literally called the new normal. And they even had the little graph in there that was showing over the next couple of years, we're going to go into lockdown and then release and lockdown and release and lockdown and release. And the public will eventually get habituated to this and start to develop new, social norms and stuff. It's almost like they knew the game plan or something.
They laid it all out right there. And that's what it's become. I mean, I live here in New Hampshire and we're pretty good here, but towns are allowed to bring the LARP back if they want with chin diapers. I went out to a town called Keene here in New Hampshire. It's kind of a bigger city. And we had to put the chin diapers on in the movie theater and going out to a restaurant. But it's
how's the Keene 6 or whatever? How are they doing?
The Keene 6?
The guys, what is that called? Oh God, is it the LRN? I don't know. They got arrested for whatever, having crypto vending machines or something.
Right. Ian Freeman, the guy in there, and those guys. I haven't heard much about that story. I mean, I remember when that happened, but
I remember when it happened. I didn't see the follow up.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. Yeah, he's had the feds knock on his door, I think, a couple of times.
There was the Keaton 6. That's different.
Wasn't it Keaton 5?
Keaton 5 ended up being 6, but yeah, it was always the Keaton 5. You got that, but James weaseled his way out of that one again.
Of course he did.
I have not been a culture warrior about this stuff. Like from the beginning, I was like, I don't care if you get it, like do whatever you want, just don't make me do it too. But it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, how many shots is going to be too many? And some places, like there are no mandates anymore and people are still, playing the game. So it's like, okay, guys, when are we done with this? So I'm at the point where it's beyond just opposing government control and it's being an example. Like I walked into Best Buy yesterday to get this microphone, and I was the only person there who was not wearing a mask. And I'm just like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done, being polite about this. Like, somebody's got to do something to make people uncomfortable and make people realize that this is stupid at this point.
Well, they're waiting for it to end, like passively, like, well, when it's over, then I'll blah. Like,
when Fauci gets up and says it's over, I'll take my mask.
Like, it's not gonna end until you stop complying. Like, you have to make it end, and they're just waiting for, well, when everybody stops wearing masks, so will I. Like, you are the everybody. Just stop doing it. You don't need it.
Yeah. When you stop complying and you turn your fucking TV off. I can't. The people have asked me my take. I'm like, just turn your TV off. Stop watching Legacy Mockingbird Media. Get away from that TV and you live your life and just be happy. They're like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Eric, I did what you said and I'm a lot happier. I'm not full of fear anymore. So if you can get at least one person, that's a victory. That's a white pill you got to celebrate.
I agree. It's pretty simple. Turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Take it off.
Stop
Talk about mask.
Yeah.
Mask. Not everything.
Right. The chin diapers.
Yeah. So, James, how long do you think people are going to keep doing it? Because, like, in the States back in the summer of last year, most places, or pretty much everywhere, actually lifted the restrictions and people kind of stopped wearing masks. And some people were getting vaccinated and they weren't too nosy about it, though. It was just like, oh, okay, like maybe this is over. And even here in Utah, where we're pretty red, in Salt Lake County, they're starting to go back and do it again. So do you think people are, they're just programmable enough to keep doing this over and over and over again? Or do you think the over-programming kind of breaks people out of the matrix if it's too forceful?
There are people getting shaken out every single day, and I hear from some of them. I've heard from a lot of people over the past couple of years who would never have listened to me before, but suddenly, what's going on? So that is part of it, but not enough as well. I mean, take polls like the one that you were just citing for what they're worth, which is propaganda. So
yeah,
I don't necessarily trust them, but we all know people who are like that in our own lives and who do think that the dirty unvaxxed should be excluded from society. So unfortunately, it's not waking up enough people quickly enough. I don't have the crystal ball, so I don't know, but I can tell you there are a couple of ways this can go. One of which is that we do get some moment where whatever, Fauci or whoever, in order to save Hyde and blah, 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 declares, okay, guys, you know what? We've kicked it and we're going to stop reporting the cases and blah, blah, blah. But not before they institute and hardwire in the infrastructure for the biosecurity state. That is what this is about at this point. And if they get that in place, it doesn't matter when COVID-19 officially ends. Because there will be something else next year or the year after, as long as they have the mechanism in place to flip that switch. And all of this track and trace mechanism for what's going in right now, that is not going to disappear. I can guarantee you that no matter what they declare about COVID-19, that infrastructure is there. And now the WHO, just in the past couple of months, has started the preliminary to a global pandemic treaty, because look at this, this country's locking down and this country's open and then this country's trying to sort it out and we all have different vaccine passes. You know what's coming. They're going to have the international health agreement that is going to supersede any individual nation state government, including the US, because the US will sign up to it. They're a WHO signatory anyway, aren't they? So they're going to sign up to the global pandemic treaty, and that's going to hardwire in the infrastructure for this, which is, of course, as we all know, it is about dictating and controlling and moderating every transaction and interaction that you have for the rest of your life. If they could take all of that power at this moment, they would not hesitate to do so. But they need to inch people into it a little bit at a time, which is why it starts as the vaccine pass. It's just for now. Why are you calling it a green pass? Don't worry about that. Shh, it's okay. Just go back to sleep. And we know this is the way they're going to try to institute the control. So COVID-19, I don't know. They could declare over this year. It could continue for years. But I know that the infrastructure for what's being laid is not going away.
Yeah, Eric, you channel your inner Alex Jones to talk about microchips.
Folks, I've been talking about chips for
what was
years.
that Swedish company? Hey guys, we have microchips that could work in vaccines that would be good instead of QR codes. I mean, that's ridiculous.
So we got Jones himself
but
on
it's
the
still
line.
a conspiracy theory.
James, at InfoWars, we were talking about the chips and guacamole, the chips and dip for years, folks, and it's happening now. They're rolling it out. They got their high-tech tyranny, folks, and we're not going to stand for it. Go on my website right now, type in James Corbett, get 20% off my anti-New World Order dick pills, InfoWars.com. They're doing it.
Vitality.
Super Male Vitality Canadian Edition. James Corbett, get 20% off right now for InfoWars.
Yeah, that's no, but you know, Jones, and you know how I feel about that guy. He's right about the chips, man. That's that's another path. They're like, well, first it starts with a little
about that in my
app
Bill
in your
Gates
phone.
documentary about the quantum dye tattoos.
Bill Gates,
the microneedle arrays they're going to be using that. I mean, the technology is there. The only question is how they can introduce it to the public.
Right.
And that's why we need to get as many people absolutely outright stating, oh, that's stupid. Microchips, you're a crazy. No, I want people to be on record stating that as much as possible, because they are going to be eating those words in a few years.
Yeah, your Gates documentary was just the ultimate red pill about him and his background and his family and what he's all about. I've showed that to so many people, and I'm like, if you watch this and you still think that guy's a good guy and he's doing really nice things over in Africa, like just get bent or get fucked with a cactus, as Ryan Dawson would say.
Yeah, fuck a cactus.
Yeah.
I got
I was right about the chips.
More like crabby as I got older and more censored. I just start cussing and more. And oh, fuck a cactus. I used to be real serious. It's just such a clown world now. I don't care.
Pete Clown World.
Ryan, I go back and watch your videos from 10 years ago, and you're a different person now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, do you feel different at all, James? I mean, are you like, where are you in the cynical, hopeful spectrum? Do you oscillate back and forth? I'm sure, like we all do.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the day. But I mean, if I didn't have any shred of hope, I wouldn't be doing this. Why on earth would I be wasting my time here? So there's something. But yeah, I mean, I've never been airy-fairy about it. I don't think it's a slam dunk. There's no way we can lose. No, that's ridiculous too. Yeah. That's why I do what I do, and that's what motivates me.
I'm somewhere between the Unabomber and the guy that wrote the Book of Revelations.
Somewhere in that spectrum, yeah. I was just thinking about this recently, is that over the last 15 years, I think the thing that's fundamentally changed is that now I am more confident in knowing that what I'm talking about, when things like whatever, microchips and vaccines and crazy stuff like that, the stuff that I talk about, I'm now more confident than I would have been in the past. Like I would have said, well, they can do this, but it might not. But now I've made enough of those statements over the years that have come true, including my 2009 episode on medical martial law, talking about all of this crap that was put in place for post-anthrax. I was talking about it back then. I now know I am right about this stuff. I don't have to couch it and be like, the more vehemently I stress it, the more I will be proven right in retrospect. And it may take a year or 5 years or 10 years, but it will stand up, and I should be more confident in what I have to say. I think that's the only thing that's changed over the past 50 years.
There was gain of function research on anthrax back in the day too, and they're all taking pro and da-da-da-da.
I feel that way too, James. My brother and I get a lot of messages. We do our podcast, Jackman Radio, and a lot of people that I went to high school with who thought my brother and I were batshit insane when we were in high school talking about the Catholic Church as a massive pedophile ring. We were talking about Epstein back then, talking about the Franklin cover-up. They looked at us like we were aliens with 5 heads. And now all this stuff has happened over the last almost 20 years. And I get these messages from people I haven't heard from, and they're like, Jesus, you were right about that, man. You actually had the balls to talk about that when people called you crazy and name called you and shamed you. So I'm with you on that confidence, James. I definitely feel more confident about talking about it, and I don't put stuff out there unless I know it's backed up and actually factual. So
yeah, I think they bit off more than they can chew with the COVID stuff. They boiled the frog too fast, because all these people who got banned from whatever platform for medical misinformation, when it was just like the anti-war crowd and like human rights people and stuff getting banned, it wasn't really enough to make like a BitChute or something viable. But now you've got a lot of influencers with tens of millions in their audience that have been pushed off YouTube and Twitter and so on. And so now the Odysseys, I've been on Odyssey a long time, but I never promoted it because I was scared that I wasn't sure if it was woke or whatever, you know, but they're viable now and they're getting better. And they're getting like super chat abilities and stuff. There's still issues, but I feel like it's serendipitous that so many people are being banned for the COVID nonsense because it's allowed all the other banned factions a large enough audience to have a viable platform and take off. And that's all we need. Like once the media monopoly is broken, it's over for them because they're able to get away with that's like predicates everything else. That's why I agree with James too. Like this media information, the course he was talking about, that is the most important thing. Because you can't change culture without media, and you can't change politics without changing the culture. So, like, winning the media war is everything. And we are right on
the way I heard it recently, because we've all heard that, right? Media culture is downstream of politics is downstream of culture, right?
Yeah, but I say
culture is downstream of technology.
Yeah,
if we do not have the technological platforms to get out there and influence the culture, then we've already lost. And guess who's controlling the technology? It ain't you and me.
Yeah,
at this point.
That's what Ted Kaczynski was saying about. That's what he was trying to get out about technocratic dystopian nightmare. That's our future. He's warning everybody about. But I do feel like we're not winning, but we've got our shit together now. And this is the last time I'm going to get banned. Like, okay, these newest things are pretty good. I'm like, okay, we're not going to censor people. Right. And that's all we needed. We just needed a place to put our stuff and people to see it. It's just going to be the game of getting eyeballs on it because all the eyeballs almost are on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, right? But the more people they ban, they're sawing the branch they're sitting on. So the more people who do that, the more viable the alternatives come.
That's maybe the other thing that's changed for me in recent years is that I used to think about that mission of reaching out and getting as many people as possible. That's still good. People should do it, but I think I'm done with that. For me personally, I know I'm consolidating what I know over here, and now I'm waiting for people to come to me. Screw all you who laughed at me and wouldn't take any of this information and are sitting there on YouTube and Twitter waiting for the information to come to you. At this point, no, sorry, I'm not coming to you.
Yeah,
hey James, I know you got to get going here in a few minutes, but last question. How would you try to guide people who are looking for what's true? Because people don't even, if they come across an Alex Jones, they don't know that they're getting sold a line of bullshit. So what would you tell people who are new to this and are just like wading in? How can they really know that what they're researching is factual? How did you tell from the beginning, and what can you tell people who are trying to do that now?
Well, everyone has an inbuilt BS detector, and some work better than others. And I'm not going to sit here and lecture people on how to do this and what to do. And, these are the people you should trust. Quite the opposite. I think that we have to simply focus on what we know to be true by triangulating information and never, ever, ever listen to one source and one perspective. And this is the guy that I go to for everything on this. That's stupid. No, try to triangulate information as much as possible. And how do you go about doing that? I hope I'm going to demonstrate that in the very near future. I'm going to be talking at the Greater Reset Conference coming up later this month. I'm going to be doing a live demonstration of, James, how do you research this? And I'm going to attempt to research some questions live on air that I haven't looked at yet. So it'll either be absolutely incredibly fascinating or utterly eye-wateringly boring, because a lot of research is boring. But at any rate, I can show people some of the things that I do when I'm looking up information, and how do you triangulate it, and what sources do you look for, and where do you do that? I recognize not everyone out there is a researcher, right? A lot of people are just, I'm working my 9 to 5. I come home, the kids are screaming. I just need a data dump in a few minutes. I don't know how you're going to reach people like that in a meaningful way. As I say, I didn't really get into this until I started researching it for myself. And I think that's the ultimate dividing line. The people who are just accepting it as if it's some sort of popcorn entertainment versus people who are actually invested in it and trying to look for information. As long as you're trying, I think you're on the right path. And it may take a while, and you might have to get burned several times before you start to learn some of the clues and things. But the most important thing is to be doing it and to be actively attempting to seek information rather than waiting for it to come to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, James. This was awesome. Great opportunity to talk to you. I've got your website and your Odyssey page linked in the description. Is there anywhere else you want people to follow you, or anything other than that conference coming up you want people to know about?
Just stay tuned to CorbettReport.com. That's where I post all my stuff. So that's the best way to go.
All right. Well, thanks, James. We're going to do our plugs, but if you got to run, you can go. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
This was
Awesome.
great.
Thank you, guys.
James,
Take
great
care.
talking to you.
Sometime again, James, if you can.
All right. Take care,
See
man.
you again.
All right. See you later. That was incredible. So, Eric, why don't you give us I don't know, who have we not? I don't know. What do you think?
What'd Clinton say about Andrew?
You know, I got to say, Ryan, I'm kind of worried. I'm a little worried because he's got some of my golf clubs that I shoved up Ghislaine's ass one time. So there's some DNA probably on those from the island. So I'm a little worried about those Randy Andes. So if you could send those back to Little Rock or to Mina, where I have a CIA cocaine base, please do that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that James Corbett, what a sharp Canadian guy he is. Yeah, no, that was great, man. James is, like I said to him early on.
That was how you just add, not just the impersonation, but you have a speech in your head.
Well, you know, Dawson,
That's
I have
true talent
I
right
have
there. That's art.
Thank you. I have an acting background. Mike and I did Shakespeare festivals when we were kids in middle school and high school, and I am actually, a trained actor and comedy and improv and all that. So it's all swimming up there. It's up there. It's an Olympic-sized swimming pool of some of the most amazing knowledge you could ever imagine. All right, you wouldn't believe what I have going on in my brain. I got a big brain, Ryan. Okay, big beautiful brain. Okay.
I had drama classes in high school, but I ended up being the guy playing the piano because only 2 people could play the piano in our class. And I wanted to do the acting part, but I had to do it because nobody else could do the music.
That's incredible.
Dawson,
he's
sorry. Class.
I play piano too.
I already know how to play piano. I wanted to learn the drama part.
We'll have to do a duet.
I think we need a 4 Horsemen band.
Yeah,
4 Horsemen house. I play guitar, and Mike's a drummer.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Dude, we got the 4 Horsemen Beatles right here.
Play in DC.
Dude, how fucking based is that going to be, Dawson? Do we want to tease that out right now to the audience about March?
Yeah,
have we even talked about that yet?
I talked about it with Addie the other day. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, give what's going on in March, Ryan? Why are you coming back stateside?
Well, there's the TILAP, or the I just call it the anti APAC conference. That's not what they call it. They don't like me saying that, but that's what
we are based conference is what it is.
It's just a conference on the influence of the Israeli lobby, but it's all the most based motherfuckers in one room talking about Israel screws up our foreign policy and everything else. So it's kind of Palestine centric, but they do get in and talk about New Mexico sometimes, or I'd like to talk about Iraq and Syria a bit more, but whatever. Like there's just the biggest heavy hitters. Grant F. Smith's always there. You've had Allison Weir there. You've had
Blumenthal.
Blumenthal's always there. Nader's there.
Roger Waters from Pink Floyd.
Sometimes Roger Waters there. Justin Waters there. Scott Horton's been there.
Horton's Bruce.
Yeah, Gideon Livy, like just
Livy's
all
good.
just everybody, man. Like all, if you, especially of the like Palestine crowd, is there giving lecture type speeches. And there's also going to be a fancy gala dinner for socializing. First time we've done that, actually. Usually we just do all the lectures and then they serve alcohol at the end. I
was going to say,
I drank with Jim Loeb and Justin Raimondo. I'm like, there's Justin Raimondo and there's Jim Loeb, and we're drinking wine. This is awesome.
This is the first time we meet in person, Ryan, and I'm on a 6-month journey of sobriety. I'm off the booze for 6 months, but you guys can drink, and I'll enjoy some Pellegrino.
I will be. I'll be on like an 18-hour flight and then having to turn around and do another one. So I will be drinking. And they usually like look under your thing, you get a ticket for a free drink. Well, like half my friends are Muslim and don't drink, so I get all their tickets.
He gives them all the comps for all the work that he does.
Yeah,
we gotta get a nice steak too, guys. We gotta go to a nice steakhouse where they let patriots, freedom-loving patriots in to get a nice.
We're gonna have to be like Thomas Massey and go to Virginia because
exactly you're gonna have to go across the river.
I want to go across the Potomac and recreate Washington with Dawson. Do that
and Massey. We can be like, hey Massey, we're gonna cross the Delaware.
Yeah.
You can go to the Dawson Farm. It's in Nova. Plenty of alcohol there.
We're gonna storm Washington, not the Capitol. When I saw those insurrectionists storm my Capitol, I cried. I cried into my mask and my vaccine. I cried into it. I was so sad. They led an insurrection with that rebel flag in my Capitol. How dare they? Ah. Jesse the Body's dog shit takes, man. They've been dog shit, man.
Flags already on the state flags in the Capitol the whole time.
I know. I always stick up for the Body, but he's just had some dog shit takes.
It, man. Yeah.
COVID and a lot of stuff. But no, I'm looking forward to it, guys. I'm telling I've told a lot of people and they're like, wow, you guys are gonna all be in DC together. And the joke I made earlier about when you met Corbett, it's a good thing the Predator drone. Maybe the Predator drone was circling around. I don't know. But
yeah, that's what I was saying. We're gonna have to be alert for drones.
We can't tip off the steakhouse location until after we've eaten. So
So Eric, give us your plugs. I know you got a Patreon that you want people to subscribe to.
Yeah, I've been for Jackman Radio, we have a Patreon account, and really, I want to build that thing up. And I want to get to a point where I can just do Jackman Radio full time and dedicate all my time to it. So it's patreon.com/Jackman Radio. And, really the short-term goal right now is to get, 500 to 1,000 monthly patrons at $5 a month. So
do you have another way to donate to you?
Yes, I have Venmo.
No, I'm not doing Patreon, and a lot of people won't.
Yeah, we can put our Venmo in this too. It's Senator Jackman 86 is my Venmo account.
You have anything not owned by PayPal?
That's great.
Yeah.
No, I've been good, man. I haven't gone over the line with my stuff, and I'm
WooCommerce if you like, and then you don't have to give a percentage to a middleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, we gotta talk because I'm gonna set up something, and I'm thinking of skipping right over Patreon. I do have a Patreon right now.
Today. I'm not going to explain how. But wasn't easy because I've always been banned on the exchanges. So why don't you do crypto? I'm like, I'm not allowed to do crypto.
Right.
And but there is a way. It's obviously it's not really me, but it is me. But I can't have my name on anything. But whatever. There's a way. So we're going to be getting on an exchange. I won't say which one it is because I don't want Gabe Hoffman running around getting it canceled. But we're going to have the ability to accept it soon.
Yeah, but so I mean, I am building up the Patreon. I have some patrons now, but I'd like to get it to a point where I can cover my bills and something where I could do Jackman Radio full time. So please, anyone watching, if you want to become a patron, it's patreon.com/Jackman Radio, and we just $5 a month from people who like what my brother and I do, the hours and hours of research that we do, all the entertainment that we give you from Little Rock and the CIA cocaine strip in Mena, all of that. You being a patron helps keep that going. Help us keep it going. And my YouTube channel, please subscribe there. We just got past 2,000 subscribers on there, and follow me on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter at Jackman Radio, and I'm on Instagram every day at Senator Jackman and at Jackman Radio.
Yeah, we got to get you onto Odyssey or something, Eric, before
let's.
Everything you just named, I'm banned on.
I know.
I don't have an Instagram. I'm not allowed on Twitter. I'm not allowed on YouTube. Not allowed on Patreon. Not allowed on Venmo or PayPal.
It's devastating.
Because this Gabe Hoffman guy goes around writing letters with his lawyer, be like, "This guy's an notorious Jew hater."
Gabe Hoffman went after me. Like
it's his sport.
You know what I want to do, Ryan? I want to get together my crew from Predator. I want to find Gabe Hoffman and waterboard him. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, he went after me when I was back on Twitter for 2 days. He was like saying, because I was naturalist Cap then, I was being a little more careful, and he was like, naturalist Cap is at Reed Coverdale trying to evade a ban. I was like, dude, fuck you. I've been back for like 2 days, and you're whatever. Fuck him. So.
He's probably who got you banned originally.
Probably is.
He sits there and flags things all day. Anybody I associate with, I'm like, whatever do to you? I don't know.
Could you imagine being that much of a fucking loser? That's what you do with your time, and you're what a complete and total loser.
He's fringy
so
you can kind of figure out why he's
bad. So Ryan, where do you still exist that people can follow you?
I have Odyssey, BitChute, and Telegram. I have VK, which is like the Russian Facebook.
Based.
And obviously my website, ancreport.com. That's the easiest thing. Yep. I have a Rumble. I got it back. I was gone for 9 weeks or something, and I don't really promote that because I'm pretty sure they'll take it away again. But
Yeah,
it's there. It's extra. Telegram's been getting bigger though. I have a Substack as well. Y'all on Substack? You should be.
No, I should be.
I've heard good things.
It's like Patreon, but not woke.
That's good.
Yeah, you can put these Horsemen podcasts on there, and why not? I don't know.
I dropped my Venmo info in the chat, so anyone looking, if you want to give money to fund an operation I'm going to be going on in the South Pacific, please do so now.
Yeah, if you we had a shekel chat, by the way. I forgot the big arena was open. I was simulcasting. Chad Racing says this is more exciting than live streaming a hostage situation on the Sabbath.
Oh,
I guess referring to the Texas situation.
Good
and then he wrote allegedly.
Well,
awesome.
if they ask Fetzer about it, they'll say, "Well, I doubt there was even a synagogue there. I think that was some TV fakery going on, like they did in 9/11."
Well, Biden did come from like a staged White House.
Come on, man!
A fake White House.
that was a nice set for me and Vice President Shakala. We were given a speech from Wakanda, and we took some of the props from Wakanda and we brought it to the set in the White House in the basement of Comet Ping Pong. Come on, man!
We got some super chats. AE says, "Holy cow, 2 champions of truth right here. Thanks for putting this together, Reed. My pleasure." Let's see. What does this one say? Would love to hear. Oh, well, Corbett's not here anymore. Sorry, we couldn't take any I don't know how many of you jumped in at the beginning, but he only had an hour, so we didn't even do intros or anything. But here, we'll ask Ryan instead. Would love to hear what Ryan thinks about prospects for an explicitly anti-partisan media group. Partisanship rots brains and leads to hysteria.
I mean, I'm pretty sure James and I probably think the same thing on this, but I'm not to put words in his mouth, but that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, that's sort of what Odyssey and BitChute and all are. They're not partisan. It's just, post what you want to post. You can put leftist garbage on Odyssey. They don't care. It doesn't matter. But it does seem like of the two that the left is more hyperactive on censoring than the right. But you can't be like, oh, the right doesn't censor. Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, maybe not as much.
Getter. I've been censored more on Getter, and I was going pretty hard, but I've been censored more on Getter than on Twitter. If
you wrote what you wrote on Getter on Twitter, you would get banned.
Yeah, I mean, there were some things that I would not get away with,
He
but
wouldn't just
something.
Right, he wouldn't just get banned; he'd get showed.
I did post something on Twitter that got removed on Getter. I forget what it was, and it didn't get removed on Twitter. But I've only had 2 posts taken down on Twitter. One I got banned for on my old account, and then I said Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong, and I said that a lot. But for some reason, one of them triggered the algorithm. But Getter.
Just Gabe. You just get some dedicated hater that reports everything you do until they get you erased.
Yeah. Jess Core says, I'm interested to learn how much China has invested in our U.S.-based colleges. I heard some figures recently that sounded so high, it was hard to believe. I don't know if you know anything about that, Ryan.
That and all these like so-called Confucius institutes that are just like kind of like the National Endowment for Democracy is their umbrella NGO in Ukraine. The Confucius Institute is China's umbrella, Ukraine inside the United States. But we're talking about higher learning, especially heavily invested, including some of this gain function research went back and forth from China to the U.S. and Canada and the U.S. back to China. So I don't have a number, but I'm sure it's pretty high.
Mm-hmm. We got the system is down, giving us 420. By the way, that's Dan Smots. You guys should go check out his channel. He's actually working on making me a new intro. He's a professional video editor, so that'll be coming soon. I'm getting rid of YouTube. Where will I be able to get this content? Odyssey. You'll be able to get it on Odyssey. And I'm probably going to diversify even more. But right now, that's the other place. Let's see. What are y'all's thoughts on the next thing being insurance companies dropping coverage? late to stream. So sorry if it was already discussed. Nope, we didn't talk about that. So I'm assuming that's with vaccines.
Well, they have no liability anyway. So I guess that'd be your private health insurance. And they go, no, we don't cover that. I can see that happening with bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that not being a stretch and that being a thing that they'll get consensus on, no problem.
That'll be a pre-existing condition, not being vaccinated.
You gotta get triple boosted, quad vaxxed to fight the Omicron variant and the Shakala variant.
When is, what does it say? TIL?
That's the Israeli lobby and its influence. That is March 3rd and 4th. Washington Press Club. You have to have a ticket. You can't just walk in. I think you have to have a vaccine passport or card too. So that's when it is, March 3rd, March 4th. And independent of that, I'll be screening my New Mech film. So you can come to that.
I just know this as the anti-APAC convention. So
yeah,
the base convention. We're going to be all dressed, wearing spoons in solidarity with the prisoners who escaped.
The drone strike convention. Despite having these organizations and money and everything else, more people know it as the anti-APAC than anything else because half the fucking people there are the ones I brought there. So back when I had a YouTube. But, oh well.
Yeah, guys, as far as I go, I am on Twitter again for now, at Reed_Coverdale. And then I am on, if you go to my link tree on Twitter or on Instagram or on YouTube, you can just follow me on every single link there. I'm on like Gab and Float and Locals, and I don't know, I'm just trying to be on everything. But like I mentioned, I am going to try to start moving this channel in a more monetized way, kind of like Eric is hoping to. And I do have a Patreon, but I am probably going to work with Ryan to get something that just skips right over Patreon straight to something that'll be secure.
I mean, you're losing 20%. Don't do that. Yeah. And they're just immoral as fuck. Like,
yeah,
I can help. I can let you borrow one of my nerds and can set up.
Autism.
He's got nerds for hire, Reed. You know, they're there.
Dude.
And I want to promote too. Tomorrow, Reed had her on his show recently. My brother and I are having Maria Farmer on Jackman Radio tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern. So everyone watching, if you want to hear from Maria and just get her latest and some updates, and we're going to try and talk to her about things she hasn't talked about in a while, or questions she may have not been asked before. We're going to get her on tomorrow. And that's my Jackman Radio YouTube page. So it's just Jackman Radio on YouTube. I think Reed put the link down below. So
he needs to talk to me.
We're doing that live stream.
She talks to everybody I know except for me for some reason.
Message her on Twitter. I know you hate doing that, but that's the easiest way to get.
Yeah, she loves your work, Ryan. She loves you.
We
all love you. Okay, everybody loves Ryan Dawson. Okay, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Great guy. But yeah, that's tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern for everyone watching. So tune into that tomorrow on Jackman Radio.
She's always dropping truth bombs too.
Yeah.
Oh, she's based.
I will be having Dak Rouleau back on Tuesday, and then on Friday I'll be having Kim Iverson on the show, and then Saturday is Phil Labonte and James Lindsay. So that's going to be interesting. So make sure to check in.
Another one that needs to talk to me about Epstein.
Who's that? Lindsay?
Kim Iverson.
Kim Iverson. Yeah, that would be based.
That'd be life defining.
All these people that are halfway there. I'm like, I can tell you the rest of that, but
first 4 Horsemen woman appearance right there, maybe.
That would be everything.
Yeah, I've already had her on once, so she's pretty based. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Sorry we only had James for an hour, but that was a hell of an hour. So this will.
I want to see his media documentary.
I can't wait to see those. That dude
been do that for a while, and I don't feel like it. So I'm happy I don't have to do it now.
Yeah, James will do it for us. Yeah, his work's
whatever. That'll
his
be
work's
good.
awesome. Yeah, it's gonna that'll be great.
All right,
I need
guys.
to do that in the future. Like, are you working on this? Because good. I can do something else.
Yeah, can you do this, please? Well, as always, boys, it's fun riding with you from here in Minnesota, between Minnesota and an undisclosed location in the Baja. You guys give meaning to my life. I love you. And I can't wait till March.
Peace. We'll next month is going to be number 12.
Full year of 4 Horsemen.
This is number 11. So March it'll be a full year.
You should get Jeremy from Ragecast on. I've had a few people. I did a show yesterday, but he's also a business and all that. Fucking funny. You and Eric, you and Rage are gonna have to go back and forth with your impersonations.
I'll bring my A game. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next stream.